Hello there, it's Nooch, and welcome to the very first installment of Nooch as Star Wars Dad, talking about my own experiences with the Star Wars universe and sharing with you guys from maybe a different perspective. And for this one, I'd like you to go back to the year 1980 for those who have that year available within your memory. But Nooch can go back to 1980. It's summertime. It's Nooch's birthday. The Empire Strikes Back has been out a couple of months, and Nooch's dad takes him off to a remote theater where we watch Empire Strikes Back together. And man, oh man, the amazing. At this time there's no social media, so nobody's hiding. I'm not even aware there's secrets hidden. Me, honestly, we didn't have a TV at the time. We were pretty much broke, so it was a sacrifice for Dad just to take me. And I hadn't seen any news about stuff that was happening in the movie, specific things. My friends hadn't talked about it. You weren't like avoiding going on Facebook. None of it existed. I was just running around playing baseball and fishing all the time, and we didn't even have VCR at the time. So imagine that. I really had not seen anything Star Wars related since Star Wars came out 3 years earlier, and I do have faint recollections of the Star Wars Christmas special, but let's just put that out of our picture. So anyway, summer of 1980, Nooch's dad takes him to see Empire Strikes Back, and there begins the fateful journey and the story of our video today. So, Empire Strikes Back, from my perspective, is the greatest film ever made. I'm not here to argue its merits when put up against other films like Godfather or whatever, Casablanca, Citizen Kane. I'm not gonna, whatever. That's a separate conversation for a separate day. I just want to talk to you about the reasons that I believe Empire Strikes Back is the greatest movie ever made, and perhaps you'll agree with a lot of it, and you disagree with some. You've got some different ideas. There's no possible way that I can cover all of the themes and the reasons that Empire Strikes Back is the greatest film ever made. But I will tell you this: if I was on a desert island and I had to pick one movie, there's not even a contest. It's the movie. I've been watching it in preparation for this a couple times, and man, it's so much fun to watch. Anyway, I guess I should say that any of these images belong to Lucasfilm. I don't know. I pulled them up off the internet randomly, so they're posted everywhere. If you get whatever. So let's start off with there's several reasons why Empire Strikes Back is the greatest film ever made. Let's start off with the first one. Oops! Hey, forgot to mention. The transitions today are all going to be Ralph McQuarrie concept art from Empire Strikes Back. If you guys have not been exposed to Ralph McQuarrie's art, I'm going to put a link down below in the description where you can go look at that art. It's just unbelievable. All of his concept art for Star Wars, all the way through it. But today we're going to look at Empire Strikes Back, so that's where the concept art comes from for all the transitions. The visuals and the settings. We go from the vast landscape of snow and ice of Hoth. We have scenes of Luke on an open plain of snow struggling to move. We have mountains covered in snow. We have AT-ATs coming through it. Just the visuals and settings of that. And we take that we branch off to Dagobah, built entirely on a set, by the way. None of that was real. It was all a set from the top to the bottom entirely. Even the lake and everything, or the pond or the muck, whatever you want to call it. Just an entire set. An unbelievable set built in Dagobah. And then the asteroid fields built with before CGI, with potatoes and shoes flying through the screen and landing into the throat of the space worm. It's the set, and the executor going into the asteroid field and shooting air. Just the TIE fighters blowing up and spinning. Amazing set. And we go from there to Cloud City, the city in the clouds. I mean, just unbelievable effects and visuals, the stunning visuals when they get there at sunset and everything is red. The ships are red, they're flying in, they land. The inside of the city is completely white and bright and shiny. Just this beautiful city. When Luke arrives, it's daytime, so it's all white and pure and bright. You get to the carbon freezing chamber, and instead of being white, now we're all red again. We're back to dark colors and sinister shades. Just the nonstop settings and the visuals in the movie. I feel like I'm missing something in there, but they're just stunning and they're nonstop. And when you talk about the special effects for the time, You know, the AT-ATs were stop motion. The Tauntauns were stop motion, and you can see it, but it's not enough to distract you from the amazingness of those visuals and settings in the movie. The reverse storytelling. Hey, this movie is a tragedy on epic proportions. It starts, I mean, everything that happens is bad. Luke gets beat up. They shoot a probe droid and they're gonna come and get him. Han's trying to leave to go pay the bounty hunter. They get stuck in an asteroid field. They go into the belly of a worm and they have to pop out of it. It just never ends until the end is it Han is carted away with the bounty hunter. Luke loses a hand, discovers the worst fate of all. We'll do that later. I can't give away the twist now, right? And we just have an epic tragedy of major proportions, which you did not see in this kind of blockbuster movie. The whole blockbuster genre itself was fairly new of the blockbuster action. You had movies like Jaws. I don't know if Rocky was like that, but Close Encounters. You know, the sci-fi movie Star Wars, this big, majestic, triumphant picture, and now we just take it and it goes dark. And only bad things happen, and the Empire really does strike back. And the way that the storytelling is reversed with, at the beginning, you've got the big, giant battle at the beginning that they lose. You know, the way that movies work generally is you have the small stuff that leads up. You might have a big battle at the beginning that they lose, and it's just leading toward the victory at the end. The big, huge fight, which every Star Wars movie has at the end, except for Empire. Empire is Luke fighting Vader, Leia and Chewie and 3PO and R2 escaping with Lando. They come back to get him. They escape. It's this small. By the end, it's a very small story of a few people with lots of bad things going on. Next, we look at the journey of all of these characters. We look at Luke's journey clearly at the beginning of the movie. He's in the Wampa's cave. He struggles to summon his lightsaber from the snow. It's sitting right there, and it's his salvation. By the end of the movie against Vader, he sweeps the lightsaber to himself from across the entire room on the floor of the carbon chamber in Bespin. Just his journey from beginning to end, from a guy that really knows a little bit about the Force and has ideas, to someone who is, I mean, basically, guys, he's a Jedi. I know they're not calling him a Jedi, but, you know, he holds his own against Darth Vader. Now, Darth Vader, of course, is conflicted for reasons we'll discuss later. We'll get to that later. But Luke holds his own against Darth Vader, something that so many Jedi could not do over time. So we look at Luke's journey. The journey of the farm boy continues, the boy developing into a man, into a Jedi. Han's journey, you know, at the very beginning, he'll sacrifice everything he's got for his friend. But he also is trying to get away to, you know, he's got these conflicts from his previous life where he's trying to get away. He's going to abandon everything. He's going to leave Leia and Luke and Chewie behind, or not Chewie, Leia and Luke behind, and leave the rebellion behind. He's going to go and pay off Jabba the Hutt, and it's going to take however long. It's going to take long enough that they're pretty much telling him goodbye. So they're pretty much not anticipating he's going to come back. He ends up, through circumstance, having to stick with them. He grows to fall in love with your immenseness. Yes, your immenseness. You know, they fall in love throughout the movie, and by the end, he just gives his life. It ends up living, but he gives his life because he doesn't know what's going to happen for them. He tells Chewbacca to protect the princess. The journey of Han is so awesome. Leia goes from, you know, she's still the princess. She's still leading. She's still kind of stodgy and put in her ways. She kisses her brother. We don't know that yet, do we? We don't know that. She kisses Luke, not her brother at this time. You know, she gets stuck. She gets stuck on this journey with Han Solo, where she's talking about this hunk of junk they're flying in, and, you know, yelling about what's going on, and then they just fall in love. You know, her journey from beginning to end of being the princess who's leading everybody to being the woman who falls in love, and yet still the princess, still the leader, still the smart aleck, really smart ass, right? And Lando's journey, right? I mean, they get to the city. He betrays them immediately, but then by the end he discovers this is through forced circumstances. But he could have gone along with it. He didn't have to usurp what was going on with Darth Vader behind his back, but he decided it's just not worth it. I've got most of my people out, and now we're gonna do the things right. We're gonna try to save Han. We're gonna he just changes complete 180 in the last half of the movie. It's really beautiful to see and fun to go along those journeys. The themes of the movie. This is the best thing about all the Star Wars movies. You know, there are these flawless, timeless themes interwoven throughout the story, and the themes are based around the characters. You got the old wizard, the young man on his journey, the pirate, the princess, the pirate's faithful sidekicks, the two goofy, goofy fail all the time, whatever, and the one, just all the big dark evil menace who's just going to go through everything, and his hidden master. Just all these age themes, magic flying around. But in Empire Strikes Back, you see these things hammered home. Friendship, the friendship that they have, and the things that Luke leaves his training against the wishes of his Jedi master. He says it doesn't matter. None of this matters if I'm not loyal to my friends. And that, in the end, he shows these guys. He showed these old Jedi's of the Galactic Republic exactly what they were missing with the Force: friendship, and loyalty, and the people you love. Your loyalty to these people is the most important thing. Without that, you've got nothing. The betrayal. Lando betrays Han and Leia. He has to. He's got some force. But by the end, we see Luke feels betrayed by Obi-Wan. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Well, the twist, we'll get to that later. Why didn't you tell me, Obi-Wan? Ben, he just feels betrayed. We see love, not only with the friendship and the people that love each other, but also the princess and the pirate. We see Chewie's love for Han. We even, with this friendship and love theme, Chewie really rescues 3PO, and you see 3PO and R2 reunited, and they clearly have human feelings for each other. They're clearly the best of friends. Family, of course, family, love and family all kind of mixes together, and we'll get to that later. Destiny. What is your destiny? Is your destiny your own choice? Is it put in front of you? Do you have to go face your destiny by your choice because your friends are in trouble? Is it unavoidable? Is it unavoidable? It is your destiny. Or is it something you can make choices about? And in the end, it really is something you make a choice about. No matter what anybody sees you doing or thinks you're going to do, you have your own choices to make, and those choices fulfill your destiny. The final couple of things, the first thing I thought of was survival against all odds, because you constantly have 3PO spewing out odds. R2 says that the chances of survival are 725 to 1. But R2 has been known to make mistakes. And then he's in the asteroid field giving thousands to 1, constantly he's spouting odds like 3 or 4 times. And Han, of course, never tell me the odds, because they always come out of it. Well, they don't always come out of it, do they? Because it's a tragedy. Finally, the good versus evil, of course. I have to tell you, as an 8-year-old seeing this movie in the theater for the first time, completely fresh, nobody told me anything, Darth Vader scared the living bejeebus out of me. When he comes on screen, I remember there's a line, and it still gets me sometimes this thing, when he's talking to, when they discover Hoth is a system from the probe droid, he's talking to Veers and Ozzel, and he says, "That's a system, set your course for the Hoth system." And he flips around directly in General Veers' face, says, "General Veers, prepare your men." It's just this giant, massive, in-your-face guy, and he's so scary. You see the man behind the curtain for his helmet's off for a minute for the back of his head. You don't know what's going on there, but you see that in his chambers. He's talking to the Emperor. The Emperor is scary. Everywhere Darth Vader goes, at the end in the lightsaber duel, he pops out of nowhere. He was holding his breath. Pops out, hulking over Luke, driving the lightsaber down and down on him. Just scary, scary stuff. Darth Vader, good and evil. He is so evil. He is scary. The humor in the movie is what really gets you. I had thought maybe down the road I could make a movie or a video. I'm not gonna make a movie, but I'd make a video of just the funny moments in Empire Strikes Back. I think that would be a really, really long video. It is nonstop from the beginning of the movie with Han calling Princess Leia, "Yes, Your Mistress. You just as soon kiss a Wookiee. I just as soon kiss a Wookiee. I can arrange that. You could use a good kiss." I mean, there's just Han and Leia together. Han and 3PO is just a constant. Chewie, take the professor and back and plug him into the hyperdrive. It's come on, Goldenrod, you're going to be a permanent resident. The humor. I'm not Harrison Ford, by the way. There's nobody better at delivering funny lines in the middle of a life or death situation than Harrison Ford. He does it in Star Wars. He does it in Indiana Jones and other movies. He's just a genius at doing that. It's just through and through. It's a comedy. Yoda is hilarious. R2 is hilarious. I mean, R2's gets swallowed by the fish and spit out by the fish. You're lucky you don't taste it. I mean, just it is a comedy. While you're going through all of this tragedy, the comedic moments are mixed in. And no, that doesn't make it an overall comedy. The definition of a tragedy, by the way, historically and back to Shakespearean times, a comedy is just a play or a show that ends well. A tragedy is just a play or a show that ends in tragedy. That's the simple definition. This is clearly a tragedy, but you've got comedic moments all throughout, keeping you engaged. And I think that one thing that I didn't really remember that stuff until I got into I think when I was in college, which was early 90s, where they showed these movies on the big screen in the auditorium, and people were laughing. And you don't think about how funny it is till you watch it in a group, and you're all laughing together at that. Yoda. One of the most iconic characters ever seen in a movie. Yoda. This is where he started. We'd never seen him. He pops onto screen. It's a puppet. It's also the only time I can really think of a puppet appearing in a movie with humans, and you accept him as one of the living beings. Usually it's like, there's a puppet, I accept it as a puppet. If you threw Kermit into the think of Kermit the Frog in this role, oh, how you get so big eating food of this kind? He's a puppet, but he's so real. And everything about him, he's endearingly funny at the beginning. He becomes the wise old Jedi who's holding things over Luke's head. He's trying to train Luke, but Luke is so dang stubborn. He establishes himself as a character and a force to be reckoned with, and he never he does go away, I guess, Return of the Jedi. There is another Skywalker. Anyway, wrong movie. It's the reason, Yoda is so huge that he's the reason that Mandalorian, at the end of that first episode, that you gasp and your breath is taken away when they unleash, at the time, Baby Yoda out of that small container. So Yoda, just by himself, just exactly who he is, how long he has lasted through the ages, what he has really turned into over time, he's worth a category by himself. And finally, the final category, the twist. In my opinion, and it's hard to overcome. I guess you could argue against it. You could argue Shawshank. I guess you could argue about Citizen Kane. I've never seen it. I think I'd be bored out of my skull. I Am Your Father. I remember. We were coming home from the movie, and I was convinced that it wasn't true. Like, I was convinced he was lying to him. Like, here's an 8-year-old nooch going to the movie, going to see Empire Strikes Back, and I'm like, there's no way he's not his dad. And my dad said, oh, I think he is. I think that's what's going on. This isn't some kind of sneaky hidden parlor trick. He's his father, and it just comes out of left field. The great thing about a great twist is that you're already watching an amazing movie. When you're watching Shawshank Redemption and you get to the end, spoiler alert, by the way, you get to the end and it turns out that Andy Dufresne's been planning his escape this entire time, bit by bit by bit. He's been planning his escape from the very beginning. There was no inkling of an idea that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father until this very moment. And it is such an accepted thing in culture now. Everybody, people who haven't seen Star Wars know that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. But at the time, even 2 months after the movie came out, since it wasn't, I had no earthly idea. And it threw me for a loop. Plus, then you've got one of the greatest quoted moments of all time ever in a movie. I am your father. I know we quoted as Luke, I'm your people, but it's not that. It's clearly not. It's just, I am your father. But the twist at the end is what really brings the movie home to make it the greatest film of all time. I mean, the beauty, this film is so amazing, front to back. It's just the greatest experience that I've ever had. And, it was really made even better when we got VCRs like 3 years later. And Nooch's buddy Cosmo, the first movie we rented, by the way, was Empire Strikes Back. At the time, to rent a movie, you had to give collateral. You had to give them like $20 up front that they held, and they gave it back to you when you were done renting the movie. Because I remember VHS movies being up on shelves costing $100. It was $100 to buy Star Wars, and nobody had that. 1983, $100. That's like $300 today, $400. So you had to actually leave collateral to rent a movie. But we did eventually, when they got cheaper, 4 years later, you could buy it for $20. So we did buy Empire Strikes Back, and Nooch and his buddy Cosmo, we watched Empire Strikes Back religiously. We were spending the night at each other's house. Empire Strikes Back is on. Boom, Empire Strikes Back. Just an unbelievable, amazing film from front to back for all the reasons you said. Nooch just loves the film. And guys, that's all I really got to say. Those are all the reasons. Hopefully you could relate to some of this and it makes some sense. Maybe you got some other ideas yourself. Please put them in the comments. I bet there's stuff you're thinking of that I haven't even given inkling to yet. And I'd love to hear it from you, what you love about Empire, or maybe what you have real problems with. It's hard to imagine that. I don't think I've ever really talked to anybody. There are people of the what generation? Nooch's Generation X. Then we had the millennials, Gen X. Was there Gen Y? I don't know. People of different, I think millennials, yeah, because we're in Gen Y now. Millennials, you guys, a lot of you guys like Revenge of the Sith the best. I don't think it's the best movie. I do like it. It's certainly the best prequel. But yeah, give me some comments down below. Let me know what you think. And, guys, while you're thinking about all that, always keep in mind who Nooch is. And that is your Star Wars dad.